Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Chronically Healthy Life show. Say, when you hear the word chronically, do you automatically associate it with the phrase chronic disease or chronic illness? Well, we all do because it's literally been programmed into our brains. But what if we flip that whole idea on its head and discover how we can create chronic health in our bodies, minds, finances, relationships, and in our whole lives? Let's jump right in. I'm Kristy Boyd-Johnson, and joining me today is not only my best friend, but my business partner, Alysia Seymour. Hi, Alysia.
Hi, Kristy. I'm so glad to be here with you. It's exciting.
Yeah, we're going to have fun today, and hopefully our audience will enjoy it too. Enjoy it. No, we are going to talk about aligned parenting today. And I kind of started thinking, we kind of coined that phrase, Alysia, aligned parenting. So why don't we start by defining what we mean when we say that?
Yeah.
What does it mean to you?
Oh, to me, aligned parenting is something I've been living into for the last couple of years, for sure. But I think it's a journey I've been on since I became a mother. That's about 13 years ago. But aligned parenting to me is about choosing your choices, your words, your actions, and everything that you do as a parent through first tuning within yourself and getting the guidance that you need to get from within yourself, rather than being focused on what everybody else is doing and saying outside, because everybody is different. Every family is different. The parent-child relationships are all unique. And so by tuning within yourself, that's where you get the really clear answers so that you can shift into alignment on your parenting journey.
People always are like, just be yourself, just be yourself. And I think a lot of us don't even know what that means. It's like, we're kind of so busy all the time and stressed out, and we're working and we're raising families, and then there's errands, and then, every little thing. And sometimes it's hard to even know. But I think one of the things you said to me one time is just relax.
Mm-hmm.
Just relax. And I love that, because actually applying that to teaching, relaxing as a teacher, all of the kids started to relax in the classroom.
Yeah.
And so obviously in the home, if the parents, especially the mom, quite frankly, it's usually almost always the mom, not always, but the way our society is, when you relax and breathe, like for example, if something happens, like the kid comes home from a really bad day at school, how would you handle that in a more aligned way, instead of like, well, get over it, do your homework?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I've had many moments where I did react that way as well. It's not always the first response to go into that alignment, even now, but to shift that energy when they come home, like from in a bad mood, in that like negative energy space, is to maybe just pause and take a breath yourself, and instead of reacting right away, take a moment to just take a breath, and then allow anything that might need to come to you about what you can say or do to actually help to, I don't like to say improve, but help to help your child recenter themselves because like you said, Kristy, they're going to feed off of whatever energy you're giving. Like if you're responding in frustration and anger at them, then they're just going to get more of that going on. But if you can respond like, hey, I'm sorry that you had a bad day, and maybe even change the subject completely, to something that will make them smile. Or I know that works on my younger daughter really well. If I just change the subject, our dogs are a really good topic for her and for me. If she's having a bad moment, I can just kind of bring the dog into it and be like, hey, I think that she wants you to think this or do this or feel like this or go play with her. And then she'll just get like a little smile on her face. So I think it's about bringing it back to the simple things of life in those moments, to remember the simple things you have to be grateful for, and just exchanging that with your child.
I love that, the gratitude thing. I kind of been thinking, we have Barefoot Learning Club, and it's an educational literacy program. And I thought the audience might like to know more about us personally and how we came into this place of doing this thing. So let's start with you. What briefly, just like kind of how you came to partner up with me into doing this thing.
Yeah, so it started right after the shutdown happened. And my children had a challenging time after the shutdown, and things were just kind of tumultuous, not only in the school, but also just for them trying to get their work done. And then when it came time to go back into school, I apologize, there is a trash truck outside. I can't. Anyhow, so like in fall of 2020, and they're saying like, let's go back to school. That's when I realized that I actually had kind of the biggest challenges yet to come. I thought the shutdown was my biggest challenge, but in fact, it was the years that followed that would be the biggest challenge. And so, but in those like recent months after the shutdown, you and I started talking because I knew you were a teacher, and I just wanted some help and support on like, what can I do? Because they didn't want to do school anymore. They didn't want to, participate like they had been. They had been really good students before. And so it was just those conversations that kind of sparked the idea of the Barefoot Learning Club, and like, hey, I bet a lot of parents are going through this right now. Like, how can we create something that will help everybody, as well as initially helping me?
Exactly. And it was, and me, I came into the conversation very frustrated, because when the shutdown came, I just saw the writing on the wall, and I was done. And I was just, nope, I'm not going back into that. We have to find a new way. And talking with you, I realized how completely devastating it must be for the parents as well as the kids.
Mm-hmm.
So
it was a challenging time for everybody.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little more about aligned parenting, and hopefully have some fun tips that you can do with your kids to bring everybody into a place of more joy.
We all hope to age gracefully so we can enjoy our later years full of energy, vitality, and good health. But so often, with age, our bodies start to show signs that things just aren't as they used to be. Our energy, skin, healing and recovery time, sleep, it all just seems to go downhill. Unless you're using LifeWave X39, the world's first product ever to activate stem cells. A true breakthrough in regenerative science that helps restore our bodies to a healthier, more youthful state. The secret? By harnessing the power of LifeWave's patented phototherapy, X39 uses light to elevate a peptide proven to signal the activation of stem cells. Think about it. These are the cells that generate and regenerate all the cells and structures of the human body. They're the building blocks for our organs, tissues, blood, and immune system. They also serve as an internal repair system everywhere. But as we age, stem cells become less effective. Their ability to repair damaged tissue is reduced. In fact, by age 60, they've slowed dramatically. But all that changes when just one LifeWave X39 patch is placed anywhere on the body each day. It's time you experience the power of X39.
Hi, everybody. Today's Kids Corner tip is all about reading. So it's really, really critical that you allow your kids to choose the books that they wish to read. Self-directed reading is the hands down best way to engage them in reading because they're picking. Now, sometimes that means they choose an audiobook. And if they do choose an audiobook, that's fine. If you set like 30 minutes a day of reading time, and that 30 minutes is them in their room listening or laying on the floor and listening, that's okay. Let them do that. They're still getting huge benefits from the stimulation of their imagination, the vocabulary, the comprehension. There's just a ton of stuff going on there. And a lot of times they need to be able to relax and not have the fatigue of the eye actually reading for a while. And some kids will just mix it up. One week they'll read a book, the next week they want to listen to an audiobook. Let it be okay, because the important thing is that they're engaged in the story. Okay, ciao for now. Welcome back to the Chronically Healthy Life show. So Alysia and I are going to dig into the meat of today's show and discuss aligned parenting in this world where everything is just so stressful all the time. All stress all the time. How do we just relax and play, and teachers too, because so much of the time we're like, they're giving us so much that they have to get done, and it's like, but you're not giving them any time to play and let it assimilate and let it gel. And coming from a teacher perspective, I think their brains need time for that. We need, So Alysia, you had mentioned that the kids not wanting to go back and the struggle that you've had with that. And I know, can you tell us a little bit about your older daughter? And she's 13 and her the troubles you've had and how you've handled it.
Yeah, well, what I've been coming to realize, I just have to share this really quick, is that the kids who were older when the shutdown happened, I believe that they are the ones that are more challenged right now, because they can remember before and how it is now, and they can feel the difference. And I definitely sense that in both of my daughters, especially my older. They were both old enough, but my older daughter especially. And I do feel like a lot of the challenges we've had these last couple of years are because of that. Just that sense in her that I feel like she really wants it to just be how it used to be, and to be able to kind of rewind and go back to that. And as children, this is still a learning journey for them in those ways, and that understanding that life is going to throw these kinds of things your way, and you'll want to find ways to navigate them so that you can continue to feel good, even if it's not going the way that you want it to go. And so it's just been having those kinds of conversations with her and both of my daughters, really, about it, and also encouraging them that it's okay to feel what you're feeling and do what you're doing right now and be how you're being. It's okay. And to let them know that they are welcomed and loved by me, even in that place. And so that has helped me a lot. It's just kind of letting go of, loosening your grip on feeling like, especially once they get to those ages of like middle school, high school, really just loosening your grip on them and how you think that their journey should be, because the real truth that I feel in myself anyways is that all of us are here for our own journey, and that means our children are here for their own journey. And so even those parents, we want to, a lot of us still feel like we have to control what they're doing or the path that they're going down. It's really best to like stay hands off as much as possible, especially the older they get. So that's what I've been practicing with my daughter. And, we still have our challenges on a daily basis even. But what's amazing to watch is how quickly they dissolve on their own without me having to do something, feel the need to physically go in there and tell her this is how it should be, or you're wrong because you're not doing this, or whatever it might be. Yeah.
I have to say, as I've watched you go through this journey with her, I've thought about some of the things that I've been through as a teacher, and they're aligned, no pun intended. And because I went through that with as a teacher, like realizing that it was my presence with the kids, that me being present with them was what was bringing them around. It wasn't the curriculum. It wasn't me making them do 6,000 worksheets a day. It was that I was present and we were allowing the process to happen.
Yeah.
And when we did that, the kids just took off. Because they started feeling more. And one of the cool things is that they started helping each other. And that took pressure off me because they knew who the struggling kids were and the smart kids. I hate using terms like that, but for lack of a better phrase, they would help. They would just kind of step in and say, I can show you how to do that, which freed up my time, which that's not to say that I could sit at my desk and drink coffee, because you never sit down when you're a teacher, but it allowed me some space to deal with other things. And that's kind of what I feel is that as a parent, you can do that too, that it's all right to let them be where they are. And the other thing that I let go of was listening to everybody else tell me how I was supposed to do it. Because I'm like, every teacher does it their own way, but they're trying to put us all in this little box and it's not working. And I'm going to do what I know is working. And I think you've struggled with releasing other people's advice and opinions, well-meaning as they are.
That is the other aspect of aligned parenting, which I like to call soul-led parenting. But it is it is hard for parents. I know all parents can understand this because there are so many opinions about what is right and wrong in being a parent, or like if you're doing this, then you're doing the right thing. But if you're not doing this, then you're doing the wrong thing. And for a lot of the years for my daughter, until she was probably like 10 years old, my oldest daughter, like I got sucked into that kind of stuff and just took it on as my own, that I had to do those things, even though they didn't feel good for me. And now I've really just let all of that go. And I'm like, okay, well, whatever people are going to think, I have to do what feels good to me. Because even if I do what one person says I should do, then another person's probably not going to like it anyhow. So just do what feels good to me as a parent. And that's this another thing that really helps you to, and that comes back to tuning within, to listen to your own guidance within yourself, so that you have the clear answers coming from within.
Yes. And I always call it that knee jerk. Resist the knee jerk. It's like we all have it. We all have something comes up and we knee jerk reacting, wah! And it comes out of we all filter through our experience and everything else. And if you pause and breathe through that knee jerk reaction, 99% of the time you can calm yourself and approach it in a much more peaceful way. I talk about this so much, about just having peacefulness in the home and in the relationships with our kids. And I include teachers in that, because I'm here to tell you, parents, every teacher knows who you are by your kid. We know the kids that were being neglected, the kids that were, struggling, that were just being ignored, the kids that had helicopter moms, we know. And so I'm glad I don't have that on me anymore. But that breathing, that just taking a breath and aligning and allowing, think of the relief. How would you feel if your boss did that? Instead of just coming at you like, man, there's a problem. And they took a breath and paused and didn't knee-jerk and approached it in a gentler way. I mean, you would feel a lot more comfortable. And we have to give that gift to our kids. Kids are so stressed out these days. I feel terrible for them.
It is that idea for adults to think about, you do not like it if somebody comes in your face and says all the reasons you're wrong or all the things that you're doing wrong. And so that's what our children feel when we're doing that to them, even though most of the time in our hearts, we think that we're coming from the intention of wanting to help. Yeah. Although all they hear from us, and I know this from personal experience with my daughters, is I can see it in their response to me when I'm in that place of being more like aggressive, like it has to be this way. I feel it in their response. I even have my older daughter now telling me, Mom, stop being like that. And it kind of just said, oh, that's right. Yeah. So she's also even now kind of become a voice of my inner voice projected back at me so that I can be aware and like, wait a second, that's right. I don't want to be like that. I want to be what feels good. And this doesn't feel good.
Exactly. And I've also been thinking about, especially with the young ones who may not have the communication skills to identify where the anxiety or whatever feelings they are dealing with are coming from. Mm-hmm. It to check, when I was a teacher, I had an I need a break corner where I had a big old fluffy pillow back there, and the kids, I trained them, and that they set the egg timer for 3 minutes, and then they could lay on the pillow and they could zone out, they could read a book, just have 3 minutes. And then if they needed, when it went off, if they needed 1 more minute, they could have 1 more minute, and then they had to come back. And I trained them that the first kid that tried to tell me that 10 minutes was 3 minutes, they learned real fast. They couldn't, that I was gonna know. They couldn't pull the wool over my eyes. Mm-hmm. So they honored that. And the fact of that they had that opportunity, if they chose it without any repercussions, I got more out of my kids because they knew that it was okay for them to feel the way they feel. And the other thing is that I've noticed is how many of us get hangry.
Right.
I mean, if we get hangry, mm-hmm. The kids, they're just growing little bodies. They need nourishment. And mm-hmm. I think the breaks are often too long for them, especially for the littles. Right. There's too much space in between the breaks, and they get too hungry, and then they start acting out. Mm-hmm. And at home, how cool is it for a parent to kind of check in with them and say, hey, do you feel hungry? Let's have a snack. Let's have a break. Let's take a walk with the dog, or, just gentle honoring of who they are. Mm-hmm. Builds that relationship.
Yeah, I agree. And I do think, I remember being in school, I've always been somebody who needs to eat like every hour, just little bits every hour is kind of how I eat. And even as a child. And so I remember moments in school being very, because my blood sugar would get low, and so I feel like a lot of children probably go through things like that at school as well, that it's not always set up for every unique child, for them to be honored in who they are.
Right. At one point I had a first grade classroom, and I had this little guy that was mainstreamed, not completely nonverbal. And I had him sit next to the brightest girl in the class who was already reading and real strong student. And she would come and tell me when he had to go to the bathroom. but he wouldn't go with any of the boys.
Mm.
And they would say we're 6, so I would send them in pairs. So we would stop everything, and we'd all get up, and we'd all go to the bathroom. And all the kids could go to the bathroom if they chose, or they could just wait outside while everybody who wanted to go could go. But that allowed him the space, because otherwise he would wet his pants, and then he would cry because he was humiliated, and we had to go to the office and call his grandmother. And but the honoring of the kids was what I found so amazing. It's like I would ring the bell, and everybody would just put their pencils down and stand up and go to the door, and we'd all go to the bathroom. They just knew. And it was very, nobody said anything, nobody made fun. And I think that's what the energy is we're trying to reach for in this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
is that it doesn't have to be a struggle. And
Right.
It's not the end of the world if you stop for 5 minutes and go to the bathroom or have a drink of water.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly true. I know it's in my household, it has relaxed a lot, like really a lot. I think I always wonder to myself, but maybe this is an inaccurate thought, but if a majority of parents were to just have a peek into my lifestyle at home, that they would probably be a little bit appalled because of the fact that so many of us are in tune to the societal expectations. And I've kind of let all of those go. I've just thrown them out to the wind and said that I don't believe in those anymore, and I'm going to do it the way that feels good to me. And that includes being super relaxed most of the time. And just as I'm in here creating and working in my space, they're either doing work or doing their own creations or playing or whatever they're doing. And we just kind of flow through the day with freedom, not much of a schedule. As long as there is some focus time happening, that's all that really matters for me. To know that they, I know that they're already set up for success because they had such a strong foundation when they were little. And they know how to read and write and do math. They can do all of those basic things. And so even if they don't master those subjects going into high school, like, it's going to be okay. How many of us really can say that we mastered any of those things in high school when we look back on it? I know I didn't. I just kind of got through to get through so that I could say, okay, I got my diploma and move on. So it's really just nothing to create in my world and the way I see things, and everybody has their own beliefs, but I just believe that it's not really anything to create so much stress around and put so much of the stress onto your children for it, if they're just not feeling it for a while.
Yeah. And so, everything always starts inside. Mm-hmm. And so for us to align more with, to become better parents, better teachers, better friends, better brothers, sisters, husbands, wives, grandparents, it always starts as an inside job. And so we have to start with giving ourselves the break and loving ourselves enough to say, I deserve to have a snack when I'm hungry. I deserve to walk away from my desk and stretch my body and have a drink of water. I deserve to, have a rest time. I am notorious. I used to come home from teaching and I would lay on the floor, and my whole family knew, do not talk to her until she gets off the floor. And they would give me that space so that I could recalibrate myself. Mm-hmm. And, but it starts with, and you, Alysia, I know you've come quite a long way, because when you began this shift, you were not in a place of loving yourself. You were coming out of an abusive situation, and you were definitely in a place of feeling like you weren't good enough.
Yeah, well, I have to say that I feel like a lot of where I was at when this all for me, the journey really began for me on the parenting and really tuning into the spiritual guidance and all of the path of being a soul-led parent. It all began really for me when the shutdown, because our household was just like in chaos and in a lot of darkness at the time. But I feel like a lot of where the not loving myself came from too was actually from the school that they were at the time, because they just felt like a lot of judgment on me as a mother because of how my kids were showing up. They weren't being considered as like the A-type personality that school that they were at really wanted to have. And so it just felt like a lot of guilt placed on me as a mother from the school. But it is, and me and their father have created our own journey. At the time we were just divorcing, and now we are also in a really good place together where we can speak openly and be together as co-parents. And so through all of that, though, I believe that all of that shifted, and that school, that we're no longer associated with them, we have nothing to do with them, and it's just kind of all in the past, and we're into this new place now where the energy is so much lighter. And I believe that that's because I did start doing the work where I was tuning within myself to get the guidance of, okay, well, this is happening right now, and I really want some guidance on how I can, not even how, but just maybe give me some guidance on this right now, and I would just ask the question, I would write it down. And for me, it can come through words that I hear. It could just be a feeling that I have. I'm more in the feelings. I tend to feel the answers more, and it's this energy that I can put my own words to. And then I just, it's a little bit at a time, like just, okay, I got this message. And then I'll sit and ask again the next day, and the next message comes, and it's just following each little moment of guidance as it comes. And that's where the idea of loving myself as a mother specifically, as a human being, has always been there for me. And I've been focused on that to the best of my ability to do. But specifically as a mother, that just started for me in this last year, and allowing myself to not beat up on myself if I just kind of want to check out for the day. Maybe I today just don't want to be a mom, so I'm gonna, I'll take care of their basic needs, but otherwise I'm gonna tell them to let me be and not feel guilty about that. And just other moments, anything that arises that is, in my mind, something that society would frown upon. I stopped feeling guilty about it and said, you know what, there is this returning happening right now, and in the world at large, but I feel especially for mothers, of returning to the ways of when children used to be raised in communities and in villages before industrialization, and how it was just so much simpler, and you had all of this support, not just from the father of the child or your mother, but the whole village was supporting you. And it was really, my mom always uses the phrase, it takes a village, when it comes to children. And that always resonated with me when she would say that, because I really did see that. I come from a Mexican family, really big family. And so that's kind of the mentality in the Mexican culture as well, is it takes a village. We all need to do our part. Yes. So yeah,
you are so right. And we all feel that. Every time I hear that, I feel the truth of that, so much. And, we created, as part of our literacy program, separate from that, a parent sanctuary. And can you tell people how they can find the parent sanctuary and get more information?
Yeah, it's at barefootlearningclub.com/parent sanctuary. And it's a monthly membership I created because I wanted to have a space where, honestly, for me, where I could connect with parents who are like me, and also kind of just lead the way of being that soul-led parent and having monthly practices for us to come together and just create this gathering of positive energy for us as parents.
Mm-hmm. And support.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, well, everybody, please stay tuned. Coming up, we have the biohacking tip of the week.
Welcome back to Chronically Healthy Life. My name is Minna, and this is my sidekick, Patches. So let's talk about this. This is my father's favorite fruit. It's called a papaya, just in case you don't know. And they come in different varieties. Some are bigger, some are smaller. And the inside, some of them is more orange, some of them is more red. So it's different species of papaya. So papaya is a tropical fruit, which is where my father came from. And it is full of vitamin C and vitamin A. A lot of the tropical cultures, they use this as a healing ingredient in their practice. And one of the good things about papaya is the papaya enzyme. It's a really good enzyme to help with your digestive system. Now, it also has lycopene, which is it has a potential to they say reduce cancer. I guess it's more like a high antioxidant fruit. So also the combination of lycopene and vitamin C is that it helps with anti-aging. So it's good for everybody. And of course, it's also antifungal, so it may reduce candida growth and that kind of thing. Now, papaya is very versatile. You can throw it into a salad. Cut it into chunks, throw it into salad. Some people would cut it into slices and dry it, and that would be a good snack. You can also turn this into papaya jam. So all you have to do is grate it and cook it for a little bit. Put it in water, cook it a little bit until you get rid of that raw papaya taste. Add in sugar, and there's your jam. And of course, my favorite way is just to open it up. Take out the seeds, and I'll just eat it, just like that. I'll see you next time.
Hi, everyone. This is Kristy Boyd-Johnson of the Barefoot Learning Club. It is a sad fact that today politics have completely taken over the schools. Real learning has been sacrificed for political agendas. As a result, kids are not learning to read. We have second and third graders barely reading, except for those lucky kids who will read no matter what the schools do to them. Unfortunately, that is not the majority. When I was teaching, I watched how really good reading systems were systematically eliminated from the schools. I saw kids shutting down and believing that they were too dumb to learn. Worse still, by making reading unattainable, they are essentially stealing our kids' futures. So the rebel that is me went on a quest to find reading programs that really work, that work with our neurological systems to enhance and speed up the learning process. And the number one thing that needs to happen is that we have to teach our kids to read. That is why Alysia and I started the Barefoot Learning Club. We are giving everyone the opportunity to learn to read in a way that is simple, fast, and fun. Best of all, your kids will start having success and never again believe that they are too dumb to learn. Go to barefootlearningclub.com now and sign up. Join me in being a rebel, and let's get our kids reading. If they can read, they can literally do anything. Welcome back to the Chronically Healthy Life show. Okay, Alysia and I are going to kind of move into doing some simple, fun things that you can do right now, and to make things more fun and light and build that relationship connection that will last a lifetime with your kids. So, Alysia, I remember having a discussion with you about audiobooks. And I am definitely of the opinion that reading takes many forms. I mean, how many of us listen to audiobooks in our cars? And you're getting huge benefits from that. So my number one tip is to make reading a fun activity no matter what. And one of the ways that I did that was I did a theme. Like I would say, okay, we're going to read books that have been made into movies. Then we're going to watch the movie, and then we'll compare and see which one we like better and why. And the kids really liked it because they got to watch a movie. It was always really fun. Alysia, is there any way that you've made reading to be more of a fun activity for your girls?
I'll be upfront and honest that my children are not big readers. I am really big into reading, but they will not listen to audiobooks, and they don't really like to read actual books. But what I have found is that they are reading a lot on different things that they use on their devices now, where like I know Roblox is a really big game with the kids, and there's a lot of reading that needs to be done in that game. And I believe that my younger daughter actually learned to read in that game on her own because she really wanted to figure out what it meant, because there's a time clock and what does this word say, Mom? And so that's actually how we did a lot of the interacting in her reading journey, was in that Roblox game, because that's where she found the joy. And so I just went with it. And, but I feel like when you can start reading to your children young, as often as possible, I didn't do that. I mean, I grew up an only child. I wasn't around kids. And so when I had my children, it was really and truly a learning experience for me, like from scratch. And so there are some things I can look back on and be like, oh, wow, if I had done that, they could be maybe more interested in reading now. But at the same time, we are where we are. And I'm not going to hold that against myself or them.
I don't know. And reading, we think of reading as sitting with a book, but it's actually any kind of engaging activity, when they make up their games, when they're telling stories. How many times have your kids come to you and they tell you some story, and even if it doesn't make sense, they're using their imagination.
Right.
And they get all lit up. And so that right there, I consider that to be reading. That's a form of reading, which includes, reading is a very broad term for a massive amount of learning. So yeah, so that's really cool. That's really cool. You give them that space to be who they are.
Yeah. And yes. And another thing to keep in mind is that they're probably absorbing a lot more knowledge than you realize. And this came to my awareness just last week when my older daughter had to write an essay. And I know she despises writing and reading books. And so I was like, okay, we'll see how this goes. And then we got a message from her teacher that said that she had written the best essay in the class, and he wanted to know if it was okay if he shared it with them to show what the work is meant to look like. And I was stunned because she never writes, but when it came time to turn the assignment in, she did it with such ease, and I read it myself, and it was amazing, I thought. And we did check for plagiarism and all that, because it's always, it's so easy to access that stuff now. With all the AI as well. But, the fact that she put it together on her own and made it really amazing. So kids are actually absorbing more than we realize as well. They just may not express it to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, you Yes, it comes in unexpected ways. Yes. And that leads to the next fun tip is to do fun things in the kitchen. I'm a big advocate of teaching kids to cook and clean up because cooking involves chemistry, biology, reading recipes, math, measuring, social skills, serving the dinner. There's a lot that goes into cooking a meal, and it's fun. I mean, tell that. Wasn't there a story about your older daughter doing dinner with with your mother, her grandmother?
Yeah, my mom is big on cooking and baking. I'm not as much. And so when they were little, they did most of that with her, and they both enjoyed it a lot. And now my older daughter is, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I'll just see her in the kitchen. Like, what are you doing? Oh, I'm baking something. And she just finds these recipes online or makes up her own. And the one time was really cute because she was experimenting and she actually created her own recipe. And then as she's putting it together and tasting it and seeing how she writes it down, like, oh, that was a good one. And she writes it down, and then she's made her own recipe and has it in this little book that sits in the kitchen. And so for her, it's something that really inspires her is to be able to just bake and then enjoy because she likes the treats, the sweets. Enjoy it afterwards and then share it with her friends too, to be like, hey, look what I did. So it's just a really inspiring thing as well, I think, for some of the children to be able to learn how to cook, and to do it as a family is even better if you're somebody who enjoys cooking.
Absolutely. And also teaching them, things like nutritious food. That's a huge deal for our health and happiness. Good nutrition. Yes. Which also leads into our third tip is make outdoor playtime a priority. I know you do that. Your kids are outside a lot.
They are both in cheer, and so that keeps them. I love the cheer season because it keeps them really busy outside, and it gets them out of the house. All three of us are really just homebodies, so we like to be home, and sometimes we need that space from each other. And sometimes we all need a little bit of encouragement to get ourselves to leave the house. But, even just going out, for me, even just going outside here and walking the dog. But they do love cheer. We have a trampoline in the backyard. They get out there a lot. And even my young daughter, she puts the mat out in the living room and she's practicing her tumbling on that. And, I really like to keep the windows open. If it's not too cold, I even have the windows up so the fresh air is coming in, the sunlight's coming in. So even if we aren't actually physically out in the outside area, we're getting a lot of the outside into our space with the trees. I have a tree right here outside my window that the breeze is blowing through right now, and I can hear the leaves, and even just that type of stuff, because I know a lot of people in the homes they live don't always have outside spaces that are easily accessible without having to drive through traffic or on the other side of town, stuff like that. So, yeah. And also bringing plants into the house is something I love to do for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be complicated either. I remember I was at your house one time, and it was hot, it was summer, and the girls put a hose on the trampoline, started jumping in it. It was hysterically funny. They were having the best time, and the dogs went out there and played in it because I'm sure they wanted to cool down too. And it was just this thoroughly enjoyable, completely non-expensive or fancy in any way, but they were getting exercise, they were having fun, and there was just so much joy in that experience. And we went out there and laughed and carried on too. That was fun.
They really love that. They still do that today. Cold or hot, they'll ask if they can do that.
Okay, stay tuned. We're going to take a short break, and then we're going to be back for one more little thing. Stay tuned.
Hello, we We are Mutts and Meows Rescue, a 501c3 nonprofit, foster-based, no-kill group. Mutts and Meows Rescue pulls dogs and cats from surrounding shelters in the greater Houston area. We even pick up dogs and cats abandoned on the streets. Mutts and Meows Rescue is foster-based and rely on your donations to keep rescuing. To know more about us is to know more about our furry friends and help them find their forever homes. Come visit us at Mutts and Meows Rescue on Facebook today and decide how you can make a difference.
Close to my heart. Welcome back to the Chronically Healthy Life show. So next week we are going to have Becky Claybaugh on, and you will love her. She's amazing. Also, Andy and Minna will be back on the show next week. Yay! I'm so glad they're coming back. Join us here on Friday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. You can watch past episodes at watch.e360tv.com in the Vitality TV network. Also, we would love to hear from you. Give us your comments on our Facebook page, The Chronically Healthy Life. Rewatch this episode on our website at chronicallyhealthylife.com or our YouTube channel. Or email us at anything at chronicallyhealthylife.com. Alysia, thank you so much for coming on and talking about aligned parenting today.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.
Yes. And is there an email where people can reach out to you?
Yeah, they can get in touch with the Barefoot Learning Club at contact@barefootlearningclub.com.
Excellent. Wonderful. Okay, everybody. We'll see you next time. Have a great week.
Hey everybody, it's Portia Booker, and I'm your host of the Grief Grand Tour Show. Join me every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Vitality Network right here on E360 TV.